We are fortunate to have Governor Perry and these other governmental leaders to be here with us today to talk about how we are crusading for tougher laws to punish human traffickers and obtain more funding for those engaged in the war on traffickers. Attorney General Greg Abbott has put the force and power of his office behind the enforcement of these laws. In the weeks leading up to and including Super Bowl Sunday, the Attorney General's office coordinated an effort among federal, state, local authorities to crack down on sex traffickers, netting 133 arrests. Of course, Governor Perry has been crusading for tougher laws to punish human traffickers, obtain more funding for those engaged in the war on human trafficking. And anytime you have two passionate individuals like Senator Pulte and Representative Sophronia Thompson, you know that their efforts working together can create tremendous results. The House Bill 7, filed by Representative Thompson, and Senate Bill 24, authored by the Senator, are comprehensive bills related to the prosecution and punishment of human traffickers. Included in these bills is an amendment of the Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code, which will give our office a powerful hammer, meaning the county attorney, the civil attorney for county government. We have several people here representing the district attorney's office. Donna Hodkins, I saw in the audience, who work with us on the criminal side of it, along with the sheriff. I think I saw Representative Sheriff's office here. We all in Harris County, as they do at the state level, work together to try to cut down on this horrible and horrific crime. When I came into office in 2009, one of the first things we did was create a special prosecutions unit led by Linda Geffen, an assistant county attorney who used to be an assistant district attorney, someone who knew how to mesh both the civil and the criminal together and work with other agencies to get things done. In conclusion, our office pledges, General Abbott, Governor, Senator, State Representative, to further this mission by working with the Texas Human Trafficking Prevention Task Force members, raising awareness through the Texas District and County Attorneys Association, and Linda, for instance, will be giving a presentation at the civil seminar soon about this very topic, and hosting seminars on using the power and force of the law to shut down these illegal enterprises. Now, if I may, I'll yield to the Governor.
Yes, thank you very much, and we appreciate your hospitality and for making the facilities available. And Vince, I want to say particularly thanks in a personal way for your passion on this issue, and Linda as well for the work that you've done. We're here to discuss a horrific crime, human trafficking. When you've seen the details of these crimes, it is nothing more than modern-day slave trade. Traffickers feed off the hopes and the dreams of those who long for a different life, whether it's leaving their home country to come to America, or for that matter, running away from home right here in the United States in search for whatever that dream might be. But it turns into a nightmare, personal tragedy, servitude of vice, crime, and absolutely no hope. Trapped between the law and the lawless, these individuals suffer under inhumane conditions. They're forced into activities that they could never have imagined. Their captors threatening to kill them or their families if they don't comply. In Texas, we must do everything possible to ensure people don't fall into the trap of human trafficking. Make sure that the people behind these insidious acts pay the price for their crimes. I'm joined here today by several state officials who are leading the charge on this issue in the Lone Star State, including the state's Attorney General Greg Abbott. He has a task force on human trafficking that has helped put names and faces to this problem, and they've developed very tangible steps to combat the crimes. This task force combines the best efforts of law enforcement, our advocacy groups, state agencies, to raise the awareness and provide specialized law enforcement training. Senator Letitia Van de Putte has been a tireless voice on this issue. She has sponsored legislation to create the Attorney General's task force. As a matter of fact, you have served as a key member of that task force. Another early supporter of the task force is Representative Senfronia Thompson, and I don't know if there's been anyone in our legislative cadre that has been any more active in the war on trafficking. She has championed important legislation, and she's been making sure that this issue does not fade from the public's eye. She hosted her own conference this last year to discuss efforts to combat this terrible crime and provide support for its victims. Both Senator Van de Putte and Representative Thompson have introduced legislation at my request, and I appreciate both of you working so closely with us and to create a new first-degree felony. It's called continuous human trafficking. It's a super first-degree, if you will, felony. It would subject those who commit these crimes on an ongoing basis to additional sentence ranging from 25 to 99 years to life. Those who repeat the offense will be punished with life without parole. Hopefully, when they understand their own freedom and profits are on the line, perhaps for the rest of their lives, these traffickers will think twice before continuing to engage in these criminal activities. However, providing penalties isn't enough. We also need to take further steps to help the victims rebuild their lives. Last year, the Criminal Justice Department took steps to do this, making available funds, they were grants, in the amount of $500,000 to Texas cities and counties. Matter of fact, I think since we came here to announce that to assist the victims of human trafficking. And whether local authorities use those grants to provide services directly or they work with the established nonprofit groups dedicated to assisting the trafficking. The important thing is we're getting to those who've suffered so much and for so long, helping them. We've also made available a little over $290,000 to the Attorney General's office to help him expand the Human Trafficking Prevention Task Force that we talked about so they can conduct their efforts. It's only by working together that we're going to effectively eliminate this sort of crime from our state and from our country, saving these victims, actually from becoming victims in the first place. That's our goal. Of course, part of that remains in waiting for the federal government to react to securing our border with Mexico. I continue to be dismayed with the lack of focus on that border, securing that border, recognizing that an unsecured border represents an opportunity for these criminal organizations to expand their reach into Texas, into the United States. And many of these organizations behind the human trafficking operations are the ones that are benefiting from the victims' enslavement, obviously. And until Washington fully engages, and we're going to keep pressing them, we're going to keep making it a major issue, not just for the victims of these types of crimes, but for all the citizens of our state and frankly, the Mexicans who daily face these drug cartels and the vicious crimes that are being committed on our border. We're going to continue to bring that bright light of public scrutiny and use every effort we can to either intimidate or to provoke our federal government to do what's right and secure that border. In general, I want to say thank you for being a great partner in this process. And with that, I'd like to introduce one of the finest men I know, and I say without reservation, the most capable Attorney General in America, Greg Abbott.
General.
Thank you, Governor, and most importantly, thank you for your determined commitment to address this horrific problem of human trafficking here in the state of Texas. The state of Texas is the second worst state in the entire country as it concerns human trafficking, and it takes a bold leader like Rick Perry to ensure that we are able to muster the resources to appropriately address the problem, and that's exactly the kind of leadership that Governor Perry has provided. In particular, he mentioned one thing that has provided direct assistance to ensure we are more successful in investigating and prosecuting this horrific crime. In August, he provided a grant to our office of $290,000. What that allowed our office to do was to hire another prosecutor, to hire another peace officer, and to hire another investigator who since that time have already fanned out across the state of Texas to begin to combat and crack down on this growing problem of human trafficking. The laws that Governor Perry is working with Senator Van de Putte, Representative Sempronia Thompson, and the entire legislature on provide incredibly important tools that will allow us to better prevent and prosecute the crime of human trafficking. But also what this legislation does is to send a message across America and across the globe that Texas is hostile territory to human traffickers and a safe haven for victims of that crime. If you're thinking about human trafficking someone in Texas, you will go to jail for a long time. One reason for that is because of the legislation that is sponsored by Senator Van de Putte, Representative Sempronia Thompson, that makes it very, very tough on those who commit human trafficking. Another thing that they did was they asked my office to prepare the initial analysis of human trafficking in Texas. 2 years ago, we prepared this booklet, which talks about Texas's response to human trafficking in Texas. Then, also at their request, we prepared this booklet that went into further detail about human trafficking and detailed legislative proposals that would make Texas law much more effective in addressing the problem. To give you an idea about some of the ways in which we have been successful, let me mention just 3 different cases. One was mentioned by Vince Ryan, and thank you so much for hosting this event in your office here. We appreciate your hospitality. We also appreciate your leadership on this effort. But one case that we worked on was in dealing with the lead up to the Super Bowl, which traditionally is one of the largest human trafficking events in America each year. Because of the resources we had, we were able to get out in front of the issue and prevent a lot of the human trafficking from occurring. We dealt with 16 different law enforcement agencies across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. But we did net 133 arrests. In addition to that, we recently had an important conviction take place here in the Southern District of Texas when we worked in collaboration with the United States Attorney's Office, as well as the FBI, as well as the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, as well as the Pasadena Independent School District, where we obtained a conviction against Barry Davis and put him away in prison for more than 30 years because of trafficking of teens and women. What he would do is to engage in a process called branding, where he would have his name tattooed on his victims so that he could claim they were his. On his teen victim, he actually broke her nose one time and then forced her to have sex minutes later with one of his clients. Well, now children and women like that don't have to fear Barry Davis anymore because of the effective work of the U.S. Attorney's Office here, working with our office and others to ensure he's behind bars. Another one that we're working on in this region is the largest known ring of human and sex trafficking in the Southern District of Texas. Once again, we've partnered with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas, as well as working alongside the FBI, and that has led to the indictment of five men and 1 woman for trafficking children as well as adults across different states, from Texas to places like Arizona, Nevada, Kansas, and Florida. And what that has led to is one of those individuals has pled guilty so far. The others are awaiting trial, which should occur this spring. But those are just examples of kinds of legal efforts that must be pressed onward every single day in the state of Texas so we can get the word out that human trafficking is a serious problem, must be addressed with serious resources, and must bear serious consequences for those who engage in the practice. Now, one person who has truly stepped up to take a leadership role on this, to crack down on it in her district, which is in San Antonio, which is one of the districts that faces one of the most serious problems, but also stepping up and taking a leadership role in the state and nationally on the issue of human trafficking is our next speaker, Senator Letitia Vanderpute.
Thank you, General. Thank you, General, and good afternoon. Thank you very, very much for your presence here today. Make sure I've got this correctly. Thank you. Good afternoon. It is with a great deal of honor and joy that I stand before you today with my sister in the legislature, Representative Symphonia Thompson, who we affectionately call the Woe Dean. She is the dean of the women of all members of the legislature, and our governor, certainly our attorney general. You see, Governor likes to brag that Texas is open for business, but what we want to do is to make sure that human traffickers know that Texas is closed for their seedy business. For those that would prey on vulnerable women and children and force them into a situation where they are either doing labor or into the sex trade industry is absolutely wrong, and we're going to get them. We are going to make sure, with the passage of legislation this legislative session, that we send a strong message to those who do this vile crime. We all know that our jails are filled with people who have committed crimes of need. Make no doubt about it. Human trafficking is a crime of greed. It's a crime where profit is the motive. And for those that would take our sons, our daughters, and our sisters and brothers and put them into a life of forced misery, we will say no more. No more. Tomorrow I hope to pass out of the Senate Bill 24, which encompasses all of the recommendations of the Attorney General's Task Force on Human Trafficking Prevention. I hope to get that as soon as possible over to the House side, where the champion there, Representative Thompson, is going to take the lead. And then with the governor's initiative on continuous human trafficking, Representative Thompson is going to make sure that that gets through the House, and we'll cross over and make sure that it's passed. And our goal is to get it to your desk, Governor, as soon as possible. You see, what we have to make sure of is that the shackles that are put on our women and our children and those that are victims are taken off. That we prosecute to the fullest extent possible those who profit from this modern day slavery. And that we begin the healing process so that the victims, again, have a life of hope and of dreams that are deserving of people who live in this great state. Now, please welcome up my sister in the legislature who has done the yeoman's work on human trafficking, Houston's very own Symphonia Thompson.
I'd like to thank Mr. Ryan for giving us this opportunity to be here this afternoon. General Grady Abbott, thank you very much. Senator Vanderpute has Senate Bill 24. I have the companion bill 7, so we pledge to work 24/7 to get this done. And I want to take a moment to thank Governor Perry. He always amazes me by coming up with something wonderful. Thank you. I want to tell you, I trained him from 1985. But he's done wonderful on this issue. One of the things that I want to do is to say this. This is going to be a session that we're gonna make sure that this is a butt-kicking pimp session of the legislature. The pimps can understand one thing, that we're gonna strap it to them, and we're gonna strap it to them very hard. We're gonna make sure that the judges have a right to deny bail for those persons who traffic in our children. We're gonna make sure that there's an opportunity for those children to receive some help and assistance, and that the victims of these crimes will be able to be compensated by the people who have trafficked them. We want to be sure that those persons who traffic in humans within our state of Texas are going to have the longest sentences they possibly can have, so that they can have an opportunity to think about the crime that they have perpetrated upon us. We want to make sure it's safe to do business in Texas, that it's not going to be a social liability to come here and to set up shop and to hire people and to be able to pay the ongoing social costs of human trafficking within the state. I pledge to continue to do all that I can do to work with Senator Vanderpute in the Senate. And I'm holding House Bill 7 until the Senate Bill 24 get there, to make sure that within 24 hours of her getting her bill over and in the House, we can get it out between 24 hours and within 7 days, Governor, because the bills are House Bill 7 and Senate Bill 24, we can get it to your desk. That's right. And the other bills, House Bill 3000, 214, and 215, that we can come back to this audience and even a greater audience, and the governor can stand and says, here are the bills that I have signed on human trafficking, and we are here ready to do business within the state of Texas with the pimps by running them out of Texas. Awesome.